Welcome in, everybody. It's time for the Longhorn Livestream on Friday afternoon, brought to you by our friends over at Garage Beer. We'll tell you a little bit more about them later. We're here today live in Lexington, at least I am, with some Longhorn friends here at a happy hour from 4 to 7 Eastern, which is actually ongoing right now at Blue Stallion Brewing. It is at 610 West 3rd Street in Lexington, Kentucky, 40508. Make sure you check us out if you're in town early and want to have some fun. Jerry's checking in from Destin, Florida. He's got a little bit different destination. Marcus holding down the fort in Austin. Marcus Myers with us as well. All right, guys, we're going to talk about the Longhorns and the predictions that we have for this game. We're also going to take your questions and comments today on the live stream. So feel free to load up the chat line and we'll get to them right away. Marcus, I have not talked to you personally. You've been on other people's shows, but I haven't talked to you, I guess, since Monday morning. How you feeling about this week now that you've had almost a full week to sit on the OU victory?
Absolutely, man. You know, I'm really looking forward to them, taking the next step this weekend. We've got some beautiful weather where you are there for the game. The rain seems to have subsided. I got my national championship ring off to the side here just in case, we need to show it off to everybody. They sneak into the chat thinking that, our boys aren't going to handle business, but I'm feeling good about it, man. I even got my Icy White, 40 Acres apparel on.
Yeah.
So Stormtroopers are going to be on the road, and I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, I got to say this before we go any further. Rod Babers is on special duty working for the F1 group at the raceway there in Austin this weekend. So he's not going to be joining us today, but he sends his best wishes. Jerry, you and I talked briefly this morning. I was interrupted by Wi-Fi and power outage. What did you and Blake end up talking about after I left as far as this game is concerned?
Well, one thing we didn't hit on that I was going to hit on, then the connection went. But you know what? This could be very good for the Texas offense tomorrow, guys. Kentucky defensively, they give up 42.3% third down conversions, and they give up 85.7% scoring in the red zone, 5.7 yards per play. Not a good defensive team in any metric you look at. Obviously, they've given up 30 in every SEC game this year, 30 at home to Ole Miss, 35 on the road to South Carolina, is not good on the offensive line, by the way, and 35 to Georgia before the off week. So if any metric you look at, guys, they struggle defensively, whether it's scoring defense, whether it's third down conversion defense, whether it's red zone scoring defense, giving up 5.7 yards per play. The more you look at this game and think about this game, as long as Texas, guys, does not have the self-inflicted, Kentucky may have a tough time over the course of this full game, despite Cole Hudson's injury really stopping this Texas offense, because they just haven't really stopped anybody good this year in any of the metrics.
All right, guys, want to tell you all about our sponsor for each and every Friday afternoon live stream. We appreciate them very much. It is Garage Beer Light and Lime with 95 calories, 3 carbs, and only 4% ABV. It is beer-flavored beer. It's beer the way it should be, cold, crisp, easy. Garage Beer, no gimmicks. There's Garage Beer Light and Lime. Again, 95 calories, 3 carbs, and only 4% ABV. It is beer-flavored beer, and we feel so blessed to have them as a sponsor, because I actually like the New Heights podcast with the Kelsey brothers. That's one of their big sponsors as well. So Garage Beer, the garage is always open. Well, guess what? Longhorn football team is always open, and I think we need to start with this question before we get to the predictions, even guys. Yep. And that comes from Tex-Mex Horn 94. Good afternoon, Bobby, Jerry, and Marcus. Am I being a bit delusional for expecting the offensive line to hit on all cylinders? So before we even get to our predictions, I want this kind of discussion to happen first, because I think all of our viewpoints might lend to what our predictions would be on air, or will be. I am of the opinion that I don't expect the offense to hit on all cylinders, but I don't think they need to. Like, I don't expect Ryan Wingo to get 2 deep balls and Emmett Mosley to come up with 8 catches and Jack Indries to get reintroduced to the downfield or mid-range passing game. I don't expect that. I expect this to be a workman-like performance, and I would be very happy with that.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing that I think people miss in the SEC or in the NFL. Very similar in some ways. You're looking for winning workman-like performances. You're not looking to ring up the scoreboard like you're playing, I don't know, Baylor some years, or
Right.
you are Oklahoma City when they don't have the talent. You're just looking for a winning effort. So all cylinders, no for me. Good enough cylinders, give me a Toyota Camry tomorrow, can last 100,000 miles or 200,000 miles. I don't need a Porsche, right? I mean, that's where I'm at. I need a good solid car tomorrow. Marcus, what do you think?
I'm kind of right there with you. My first thought is, what do you define hitting on all cylinders, right?
Yeah.
I think if you look at last week's performance, they didn't necessarily hit on all cylinders on offense, but for the most part, they didn't get, overly behind the chains due to penalties. Arch didn't put the ball in harm's way. And while I understand fully, again, this is the SEC, so everybody has some players, even if this is a year where Kentucky's a bit down. Jerry's talked a lot about how every year, there's always a game they play somebody a little tight at home. This is, likely for them, that opportunity for them, to be able to put up a good performance against a ranked opponent. That being said, some of why we didn't hit on all cylinders last week is, regardless of how the game ended up, OU still has a really impressive defense. This defense isn't on that level. So if you're still executing in the manner in which they did last week, I think you see them perform even better, right? It doesn't necessarily mean everything's perfect, but I think it's a little bit cleaner than it was last week, and an opportunity to continue to take the next step. And then lastly, if they can run the ball, again, have a bit better opportunity to run a little bit of play action that likely wasn't as possible last week with the Sooner defense that you were facing. So I think they could take a very similar game plan, build upon it, and then just, lean on them throughout the quarters, pull away in the second half.
Jerry, what do you think? You agree with that, or you have a little bit different take?
No. I totally agree with that. And again, I'm going to add something else. Totally agree with that point. And you guys' point. On the offense, I think the run game may hit on all cylinders. I mean, here's your yard. Kentucky has not held an SEC opponent under 178 yards rushing in a game. In the 3 losses, it's been 178. I think South Carolina had. It was over 180 for Ole Miss, and Georgia had 220 the last time out for this Kentucky defense. So they're giving up about 195 a pop in SEC play in run defense. So that dog never hunts in this league. So I think Texas' run game has a chance to have a lot of success tomorrow. And if they have success early with their run game, I think the strength of Kentucky's defense is their safeties. They're really well-experienced players, good players, a couple of guys will have careers after football, whether that's in the NFL, CFL, whatnot. They have 2 really good players back there. They have a good corner. The strength of their defense is their secondary. And Texas Golden Mars should be to run the football well in the first half and soften these guys up in the secondary. And that could lead to some big plays. This may be the best chance this Texas offense has had to have a game that Sark envisioned when the season began. Run the football successfully, then maybe have some chances to go over the top or go outside the numbers vertically down the field.
All right. Before we get going, I want to mention one time we're at Blue Stallion Brewing Company here in Lexington. Come on out. There's about 20, 30 Longhorns here already, whether they're upstairs here or around the other side. Please come join us again. Blue Stallion Brewing. We'll be here from 4 to 7 this afternoon. All right. Without further ado, let's get to these predictions. If you don't mind, Matt, our producer, will you please put those up? Let's go down. And I went 20-10. I said this earlier in the week, and I believe it to this day. I think Texas going to have a very Arkansas-like game on the road. Remember what was the score last year at Arkansas, Jerry? It was 20-10.
Yeah.
I think it's the same type of game where Kentucky doesn't really know what they are or who they are yet on offense. They're reeling a little. Hopefully Texas is able to be a defensive squad and score enough points in a workmanlike fashion, like I talked about, to win 20-10. Jerry, you had Texas up 24-13. What was the deal there?
Yeah, look, I kind of look at a late score for Kentucky in this game. I mean, one of those type of deals. The whole thing for me with Texas tomorrow is first down run defense in this game, and I think they'll be successful enough there. I think McGowan's a good player. I think even his backup Dante Dow's a quality big back, but I do think that Texas defense will get Kentucky and Cutter Boley in the obvious passing situations, and I really like Texas' ability to rush the passer. I could see something similar to what South Carolina had, 6 sacks and a lot of pressures against Kentucky. I think Texas will be able to do the same thing tomorrow. So I think 24-13 without playing Fritz. By the way, but the more I've dug into this game, I just wonder about Kentucky defensively against the run.
Marcus, you kind of have a team that is going to break out a little bit offensively with a 30-7 prediction. Give us your thoughts there.
Yeah, and it's kind of like Jerry's saying. The more I was thinking on it, and maybe this is a little bit of a hangover from the OU game, I almost want to go 30-6 and say they just give up a couple field goals because, again, when you kind of look at some of their stats, they're a bit skewed on the season because they had some early success, but again, of course, these last 2 games they had against South Carolina and Georgia were on the road. But I've said this a couple of times. Against South Carolina, they only rushed for 2.63 yards a carry, and against Georgia, 2.05 yards a carry. So I feel like our defense is pretty well equipped to not only, hold them under that 3 yards a carry threshold, but then in kind of parallel, like Jerry said, have some success on the offensive side of the ball running it. And that's when, I think their quarterback, gets a little, plays a little hero ball and he'll put it up there. And we do have some guys that, I think are really well equipped to make some plays on the ball. They don't have a Dallas Wilson out there on the outside. I do know, they have some young guys that, we certainly need to look out for, but not those big physically imposing, type players necessarily on the outside. So, I just kind of look at it as, you get a touchdown or 2 in the first half, maybe, play some ball control in that third quarter and really begin to lean on them and get a few field goals out of the thing. So I really see a path to them getting to 30 this weekend.
Coming right here. All right, guys. Look at all these other scores. Stevie Lee also has a little bit of a breakout there, 31-10. Coach Irwin, 28-13. I thought that was interesting. Coach Shipley, 31-21. Man, I'm the lowest scoring Longhorn. Am I not? Is that just my imagination? I just thought am I a hater? I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I might be. Hey, we're here, like I said, in Lexington. We've got a couple of Longhorns here with us. Come on over here. You got to come over here. This is Tad. Hey, we got some guys. We got Larry coming over here too. Right. Tell folks where you guys are coming in from and that sort of thing.
Yeah, we came in from Houston this morning and beautiful town, a lot of nice people, and we're really looking forward to this. Weather's great.
Yeah.
And the bourbon is better.
Larry, what about you, bud? Where are you coming in from?
Austin, Texas. A big fan of On Texas football. I appreciate your show.
All right, Huck. Thanks, all.
Thank you, guys.
Fun.
Yeah, take care, bud.
Later. I appreciate you guys coming in. There's quite a few people here now coming on. All good, guys. All good. Marcus, what did you think of those predictions? Anything that you saw that kind of stuck out to you based on all of that?
I think more than anything, it's maybe an expectation of all of us that they carry over their momentum from last week. Understand that, if you let it, this could be a game that you could slip up. But I think, we're all looking at it as, they're not going to let a Florida type game creep in again, and that they're going to go out there and play to their own standard. I think, we've talked about some this week that they found some things that they can do well. And my hope is that they continue to build on that. I also, don't see them really having an answer for Arch in the running game when you have a +1 there. So I think that's kind of what I've seen, across all of our predictions is that, if the fellas go out there and handle business, they, keep their heads screwed on right. There's really no true reason they shouldn't come out of this game with a double-digit win.
I want to say this, Bobby, too, to that point. I have one goal for this Texas offense tomorrow. Less than 5 penalties on the offense. If they can keep it under 5 penalties then they will have kept themselves ahead of the chains in this game. And it kind of goes to the standard playing clean football, building on last week in Dallas. Score predictions, all that stuff's fun. All the stuff we talk about, less than 5 offensive penalties. If they do that tomorrow, Kentucky will have a tough time slowing them down enough over the course of the game to really challenge Texas. It's about Texas beat Texas tomorrow if they lose. Kentucky's not going to beat Texas.
I love that. I love that, Jerry, because we saw a little bit of that self-sabotage in the first quarter, right, against OU. And then once they cleaned that up, all of a sudden, bang, 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 they're moving the ball down the field. They had 3 consecutive drives of 10-plus plays or more against the number 1 ranked defense in the country.
Yeah.
So if they don't self-sabotage, I think you're right. I think you guys got something there. All right, let's say thank you real quick to one of our other key sponsors. And Marcus, you're wearing their apparel right now. I'm wearing one of the co-op's hats, by the way. We're here today. Not here today. The University of Texas Co-op, is the number 1 provider of Texas Longhorn gear anywhere in the world. They are just awesome. And courtesy of 40 Acres Apparel, the University of Texas Co-op, as a nonprofit, has been serving the Longhorn community since 1896. Every penny of profit directly benefits course material scholarships. In fact, more than 9,000 students received 4 free course material scholarships in the 2023-2024 academic year. 40 Acres Apparel was born inside DKR, designed and built exclusively for the University of Texas and Longhorn Nation. Go down to the co-op or to the University of Texas Co-op.com and get geared up with 40 Acres Apparel. Great designs, fashionable, high quality, SPF 50, moisture wicking. It's just a super good product. Looks great, feels great. 40 Acres is also a proud sponsor for the course material scholarships for UT students. Marcus, you and I spent a lot of time at the co-op in our days, and it is a fun place run by a lot of great people. The guys over at 40 Acres Apparel, Jeff Clark and his crew, do a tremendous job as well. They support the University of Texas through those course material scholarships for young students. All right, let's get through y'all's questions and light it up here. This one from DJ Alexander. If you're a betting man, do you take the first quarter under? It's 9.5. All right, I'm not CJ Vogel. CJ likes to think about these kind of things a little bit more deeply than I do. I will say this. Steve Sarkisian's 15-play script has not been productive in big games or games on the road necessarily in the last year and a half, really. Y'all taking the under or over on this?
It's tough because, I could see it going either way. Like, I could see him getting a touchdown and a field goal in the first quarter.
Yeah.
I could also just see him getting a score and, you roll into the second quarter and begin to ramp it up a bit. So I don't know. I guess I'll be optimistic, stick with my prediction. I would say I'll take the over on this one.
Jerry, I'm gonna go under, just for the record.
I can't.
Hopefully none of those points come from Kentucky.
I'm not sure I've ever looked at a first quarter over and under and actually thought about it, like from a betting standpoint. If Texas gets the ball first, I'll take the over.
That's fair.
If they get the ball first, I will take the over.
Okay.
I think confidence matters a lot in this game, and I think Texas has confidence.
Hey, if Texas is scoring, this might be one of the pieces that matter, and the reason why. Jeff Marr, who in this running back room is a threat out of the backfield and running in the middle? Who is ready to play now? Look, Trey Wisner needed a week to get his legs under him. Did he not? I mean, we all saw a better Trey Wisner against OU. Who's next, though? Because we still don't think C.J. Baxter is going to play. He's questionable right now, or doubtful, according to Steve Sarkisian. My guess, and this is just an educated guess, he's eventually out for this game on Saturday. That means James Simon or Christian Clark need to step up. Are either of those guys ready to do that? What do you think, Jerry?
Yeah, I do think Simon is definitely ready. I just love his instincts as a runner. And I think if he starts getting some carries behind the first team offensive line when it matters, I think you're going to see him do some really good things as a natural running back. Kentucky, not a great pass rushing team. So maybe if you're playing ahead of the chains, the pass pro, some of the concerns there at the run back, a young back doesn't play in as well. And I do think you have to go play to win the game. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think Sarkisian in an ideal world wants Trey Wisner carrying it 22 times in Lexington tomorrow. Not considering you're at Mississippi State the week after, then Vanderbilt before you have an off week. So I do think we're going to see more of those guys. And I think James Simon is, Sark gives the hints. And he gave the hint that they wanted to get James Simon in more. So he's good at those hints. So I expect to see James Simon take more handoffs tomorrow, especially if Baxter can't go, because they do need to keep Trey Wisner as healthy as possible. He does not need to be carrying it 22 times and catching 5 passes the next 2 weeks, especially this week. Maybe next week against Mississippi State, but especially this week. I don't think that's the formula to keep him healthy the rest of the year.
There was something you said, Jerry, that it made me think of, and I hate whenever I make these comparisons, I'm never trying to put this expectation on a young man, right? But you talked about him being a pure runner, James Simon. They used to always talk about Nick Chubb in that way, right? Like even pre-injury, not always the most dynamic of all potential backs, not the fastest, but just has a good feel for the game. And so that even goes to your point of Trey. Like I think running backs like that, they need to get rhythm and begin to see, where their linemen are making blocks, understand how to press it. And I think Simon has some of that natural, true, pure runner ability. So I definitely think he would be that. Out of the backfield, I still think they probably rely on Trey a good bit.
Yeah.
And then, at some point we might sprinkle a little Michael Terry in there, but I don't see that something being majored in or anything. Maybe not even this week, right? Unless they're up a significant amount and you just want to, give other teams something to look at.
And how about this? We may see a little bit more of Ryan Niblett out of the backfield.
Yeah, that makes more sense to me as your backfield threat.
Yeah, I could see that.
All right. Before we get to this next question, I got to do a little something here. We are in Lexington, Kentucky, but I got to do this. Texas! There we go. We got the group. We got the group in here. This is fun. We're here at Blue Stallion Brewing in Lexington, Kentucky. Already a group here ready to go for tomorrow. We are a little bit more than 24 hours away from that. So we'll wait and see how this all goes. But let's go to our next question. This one from our friend Matt Hanley. Cook 'em, gents. Coach Shipley and I are in agreement. Would love to see some freshman wide receivers on some go routes. Think Stark will stop being stubborn this week. Look, he answered this question on Monday. Did he not, Jerry and Marcus?
Yeah.
He was like, why aren't these guys playing? And he was like, very matter of fact, this is the reason. You want me to put a guy out there that's not as prepared as somebody else who can help us win a game. He goes, now, it's not like we're playing, you're not – Oklahoma game was not like, the fourth quarter, the game's over. You can, throw caution to the wind. These games they're playing for keeps. You certainly couldn't do it against, Ohio State or Florida where you were behind.
Yeah.
And so while I do think that there's some value of getting those guys snaps, and Dalen McCutcheon did get snaps, by the way, on Saturday against Oklahoma. I don't think you just do it to be doing it to say, I played a freshman. You got to do it with purpose, and the guy's got to be ready.
And by the way, they're still trying to get Emmett Mosley fully integrated into the offense. And Emmett Mosley is a really good player, and they need to get him more touches and get him more involved. So, I think with Emmett Mosley's return, they've got to do their best to get him where they think he needs to be to help maximize this offense. And so that took away reps from McCutcheon or any of the freshman wideouts. So, with Wingo, DeAndre Moore, Mosley, and Parker Livingston, as much 12 personnel as Texas is in, Marcus, it's not as many. And Texas is leaning on the run game with the offensive line struggling at times. There's just not as many wide receiver reps to go around. And by the way, Sark played a low possession game against Oklahoma.
He did. He absolutely did. And you're right, Jerry. And I think Stephen Houston nailed it in the chat. again, to your point, Bobby, like Sark doesn't really beat around the bush much.
No.
A lot of times we're trying to like read into something. Maybe he means this. I think Matthew's, showing it right now. He doesn't rotate receivers. Like it's been this way for a period of time. He has the handful of guys that he feels have earned his trust. And I also want people to remember this. There's a trade-off. I think you said this at some point this week too, Jerry. If he's putting a freshman receiver on the field, who do you want him to take off? And if he's doing it just for that receiver to run a go route, in theory, I hear you, but now you're starting to develop tendencies. Okay, anytime this kid gets on the field, we know what he's doing over here, right? So I don't necessarily think it's a matter of the freshman not having talent. I think folks also forget there's sight adjustments these guys have to make, right? So if Arch sees something, he has to be able to signal to one of these guys, hey, you're my hot route. Well, who do you trust more to do that? A DeAndre Moore, that's been in this system for a period of time. Parker Livingston, that's, we've seen what he's been able to do this year, or a guy that's still trying to get his feet wet. Sark's offense is not the easiest thing for a true freshman receiver to digest. And so you could certainly make the argument that, hey, well, he should make it easier. Okay, sure. You go have that argument with him, but his offense is what it is. And we've seen it be this way to this point. That's why some of the portal receivers have been so big, because they've been experienced. So I think you nailed it as well, Jerry. You really got to get Mosley up to speed in these next couple of games, because as you get to your Georgia, Vanderbilt, and A&M, that's where you need him the most, right? So he's needing those reps a bit more than some of those freshmen right now.
I got to say this. If you think about it, it's the circle of trust at that receiver is the term or that we've kind of coined for that, or that we've coined the term. The circle of trust. Somebody, I think a fan came up with that. That was pretty good. But that's what it is. I mean, and that's not a negative. I think that people look upon that as, hey, just doesn't work that way. Some of those guys are not as good as Parker Livingston. They're not as, look how Parker Livingston wasn't as good last year as the other guys. Yet you see him the next year and he's getting plenty of touches.
Yep.
Sometimes it just takes time to get some guys experience, get that body armor that Rod talks about on them as a college players. CC6 fan club president. This is going to be interesting. I want to know what Jerry's thoughts on this are, but I'm going to give you mine. It says, how many touches does Michael Terry III get tomorrow? Over and under 4.5. Okay, I'm going to put that number. I'm going to make it different than maybe what some others have thought. I'm going to put the number at 0.5.
Yeah.
Because I know that he moved to running back on Monday full time, but I don't think that means he's all of a sudden going to pass James Simon, Christian Clark. I think that there's some people getting out over their skis on this one, even though he has played running back, Jerry.
Look, if he was on the field and they threw it to him, that wouldn't be a shock to me. But this guy's never taken a handoff in college football, and he's been working at wide receiver since he got to Austin. He has never pressed a hole and had to read a linebacker at the Power 5 level, and how quickly and different that is, a different diagnosis than play. And he was a talented high school player, and I love Michael Terry's upside, but that would surprise me quite a bit, because that means Texas thinks within 3 days of practice they found something with him that James Simon and Christian Clark cannot provide. And now, and if we get to a goal line situation or something, look, you never know what could happen. But again, even at that, are they going to put the ball in a freshman who has long arms, who's been working out at wide receiver, in his hands on the goal line where a ball can get punched out? I'll just be surprised. I think the thing with Michael Terry, though, if they used him in the passing game, that would not be a surprise to me, because you could bring him in a situational play or two that you worked on with him and use that ability and size out of the backfield, where I think he might be able to make a difference in a small role for you, Marcus. But taking handoffs, look, as long as the game's in the balance, if something crazy happened, then yeah. But they need to get, Sark gives hints. He wants to get James Simon more looks.
Yeah, I agree, man. The only caveat I would add to that, so to answer this question, I would say under 4.5, right?
Yeah.
unless they just run away with this thing, I don't see him getting above that. The only caveat I would add that just, gets my brain, kind of running is I think I heard Sark, or I saw it reported that he said he has been working scout team running back for the last few weeks. Now, however true that is, I don't know. But I will say I've seen some guys that went on to be special kind of cut their teeth, starting out on the scout team and going against a really good defense and giving them some looks. That being said, to your point, Jerry, it is something different, carrying the ball in a SEC game on the road. So I would imagine the only way that something like that really happens is if the game is supremely in the balance. And again, to your point, I could see it much more bubble screen or, something to that effect, getting him on the outside and utilizing some of his strengths. I think his talent is special. And I've seen some cool comparisons. I saw one that even kind of likened him to Cordell Patterson, with kind of their build and running style. But I don't think it's something you should expect to see a ton of tomorrow.
We got a couple more things. One thing I want to add, and this is just for me, in my opinion, is ball security on the road with a young guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that takes precedent. Now, if the game's out of control, I think we all take our worry glasses and hat off a little bit, right? But if it's a tight game, I just can't see that happening.
To your point, hey, Bobby, to your point, Jarrett Gibson didn't get a single carry at Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
His homecoming in a game that he's played a lot of football. He carried a lot of footballs at Texas.
All right, Jonah Williams enthusiast. If Xavier Filsaime is listed as out, by the way, on Thursday night's injury report submitted by Coach Sarkisian to the SEC. If he's hurt, could Wardell Mack see reps? The answer is absolutely. Filsaime actually saw some time at nickel against OU, which was interesting. We hadn't really seen him in that alignment. We've got a number of other guys back there. We could see Jordan Johnson-Rebel in there. Do you think, though, Mack might be the next one up, Jerry, given that he played so much nickel against OU? Or that's really where he played primarily?
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be possible to see more Wardell Mack for sure. I mean, look, they just because you're not playing a lot of reps doesn't mean Texas doesn't like you, right? They've just got a lot of talented players, and I do think Texas likes Wardell Mack quite a bit. So it would not surprise me if he didn't play. Now, how much, Marcus? Here's the question, though. Because Kentucky's going to be a more of a run-heavy team, and they don't want to rely on Cutter Boley. How much rotation are you actually going to see at safety Saturday night in a lower possession game?
Right.
That's kind of the thing I'm looking for. I think you're going to see more of the rotation in the front than the back end against Kentucky because of the type of team you're playing.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think that's, where you have more of your experience, where you trust, a Taft and those guys that have seen a lot of the ball, a lot of ball played, to help make sure that the guys are aligned. And, when you have a grouping that is used to playing together and communicating in that way, that helps on the road, that helps in hostile environments, and more than anything, that helps prevent any potential broken coverages, which fortunately we haven't seen a ton of this year. And I can't, again, imagine them majoring in playing some guys that are a little more inexperienced all of a sudden. And, again, to your point, Jerry, I don't see them spreading it out wide a ton. I imagine they're going to try and do some things to try to establish the run early. But, like we've talked at length, and I talked with Coach Shipley and Rod last night, I think if you can get up on them early, you can force their quarterback to begin to press a bit, right? And then that's, another way that the game could get out of control late is, he's trying to throw it up deep and you have an opportunity to make some plays.
Rocking it at SeaWorld. There you go.
Spreebrex had a hell of a month. He was at Disney, and now he's at SeaWorld. His honeydews are complete for 2025. He's done.
My wife wants me to bring up the drunkest guy in the room.
Grab Jason
for an impromptu. I don't know if there's any here that it's early. It's early. Some guys just came in from Keeneland, the race. Jason Watts, your buddy, did, Jerry.
Hey, don't let him walk by without grabbing him. Go get Jason back.
Hey, here's a question. Bobby, what's your favorite Kentucky bourbon? Try some Uncle Nearest while you're there. Actually, my favorite is Ryan Bingham's Texas bourbon.
There you go.
There we go. Got to slip that in there. While we do that and mention Bingham's bourbon, Jerry, would you do us a favor and tell folks about one of our major sponsors, and that is Von Lane.
Yeah, absolutely. Tailgates to holidays with a drink in hand. That sounds pretty good. From Texas football Saturdays to NFL Sundays to ACL Fest to Formula One, where Rod B is this weekend. This fall is stacked, and Von Lane is the smart way to get there. Forget TSA lines or fighting I-35 traffic. Everybody's been there. With Von Lane, you board in minutes at luxury hotel terminals. Then it's just 22 first-class seats, each with Wi-Fi, outlets, and onboard attendant bringing snacks, drinks, and yes, even beer and cocktails. You'll arrive relaxed and ready for kickoff, the concert, or family time. And with booking open through December, you can also lock in Thanksgiving and Christmas travel now. I hear they're already filling up, so you might want to look into that. Go to vonlane.com, use that code OTF25, and save $20 on your first ride. Von Lane, elevated regional bus transportation.
Hey, this is Jason Watt's better half.
What's up,
here.
Kelly?
They're here. They just got
Hey.
Y'all got the racetrack. How was it? Legit. You won $3.
She was a track star, by the way. For those that don't know, track star was inducted into the Tuscola Jim Ned High School of Colt McCoy Hall of Fame. Same ceremony last year.
Hey, I want to ask this question of Marcus Myers rather than you or me, Jerry.
Yep.
Here we go. Was Quan from Specker 54? This is an interesting question because you could go a couple different ways. Was Quan Cosby or Devin Duvernay a better player? What do you think?
Marcus has hit the mute.
I thought I was good, man. I channeled Blake's been on his streak, and now here I go. It's like the second time this week. For me, it's probably Quan. I'm a little more partial in that regard, in part because of his blocking. Duvernay was no slouch, but Quan made some really big plays with the ball in his hand as well as blocking. And he was a little bit bigger than Duvernay, and so that's probably where it tilts the scales. But it's close, man, because I don't remember Duvernay dropping the ball.
Only in Kentucky.
So,
guys,
yeah,
I gotta say this, but I gotta interrupt. Literally, there were two people just going down the street on horses just now.
nice.
Did you not? They literally just welcome to Kentucky.
Was it two basketball players? Is that how they're spending their NIL money?
What do you think on that, Cosby or Duvernay?
So here's the tough thing about questions like this. If Devin had played with Colt McCoy in the Texas offense, what would he have looked like? That's the tough thing, right? And if Quan had played in the Tom Herman offense, what would he have looked like with quarterback power being your play of choice so much? I think Quan was an unbelievable player. I think if you'd put Devin in the Texas offense with Colt McCoy, I'm not sure he wouldn't have been an All-American.
It's hard to decide on this question. And I will say this. I think that Quan Cosby was clearly part of better teams. No questions asked, right? Clearly better. I think that Devin Duvernay is a better overall player. Now, maybe not a better all-around athlete. Like, I think Quan Cosby is one of the better all-around athletes at the University of Texas. Pro baseball player, et cetera, right? Maybe he lost some of his best years in football, actually, by going pro baseball first. But I think Duvernay, his time and length in the NFL kind of speaks volumes. The most underrated aspect of Devin Duvernay, in my opinion, hands.
Yeah.
He had tremendous hands. And it's not like he had this large catch radius either. Neither him nor Quan had a large catch radius. But I don't know that Devin Duvernay dropped the ball his last 2 years at Texas. But look, here's the one thing I would say. The common they have both, other than just being good receivers and then played in the NFL, et cetera, they're both good guys. They play hard. They played hard for the University of Texas, period. All right. This one is kind of a good one for us because I think it's that time of year, especially with Kurt Signetti getting re-upped for $11.6 million a year. DJN, how do schools vet and talk to other coaches in the middle of the season? Are they only allowed to talk to their agents, or can they talk to them directly? I will say this, DJN. There's a couple words in here that are functional or interchangeable. Are they allowed? Allowed isn't the right word. It's do they? Some coaches will actually talk to other schools during the season. Okay. Some will only go through their agents.
Yep.
And neither of them will ever tell the AD of the team that they're talking of the other team that they're with right now. And so it all depends, I think, on the I don't want to say morality, more like ethicalness, whatever the word is, of the coach and his agent to some degree, and furthermore, the team that is pursuing that coach, right? Like, it would be hard for me to believe that you're going to reach out to a coach on an opposing team and not tell them, but I've seen it happen. I know it's happened, and so what they're allowed to do and what actually transpires are two different things, right? I mean, everybody agree with that?
Yeah. Well, my thing with this is, how often anymore is it truly like the old days where the Florida, let's say, AD calls the Ole Miss AD and says, hey, we're going to speak with Lane Kiffin? How often does this actually happen anymore? That's kind of one of my questions. Is the process change? Like, has that part of it changed? But look, obviously the agents do the majority of the talking now. But if anything gets down the road, let's say Florida opens up Sunday like people think. We'd kind of talked about that early in the week. Does anybody believe that Lane Kiffin or Eli, they won't have at least won't have at least a conversation with a Bull Gator or somebody? It's going to happen. There's literally no chance that's not going to happen.
Yeah. The only thing I would add to that, Jerry and Bobby, is unless something's changed, a lot of times most of these coaches, there's only a handful of agents that represent all of them anyway.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they have relationships with the athletic departments as it is. And so a lot of times, like, this stuff gets worked out by very similar agencies that are, quite possibly representing the coach and or the AD. So that would be the only other caveat. It definitely happens. Is it somebody necessarily picking up a phone and directly calling one of the coaches? Probably not, but that part of it isn't necessary unless something has changed drastically.
And we're also at a point in college athletics too, where it feels like everybody knows everybody now on some level, right? So if, like Penn State with Matt Rule, well, the AD is good friends with Matt Rule. So you could sit there and say, oh, we've talked weekly since I was at Temple and he was the AD at Temple, right? So everybody knows everybody nowadays. And it's amazing how many times when these hires are made, if an AD's in control and as big boosters aren't, how many times they go with somebody they know. So there's pre-existing relationships as well.
Hey, we started with that Quan versus DuVernay talk.
Oh man,
that I tried to get Jason Watts up here, Jerry. Y'all know him in the chat. I tried to get him up here to rank these, and he said, "No, thank you. That would get too heated."
Yeah.
In all seriousness, let's think about it, because this eliminates Ricky and Earl from the conversation, right? Being 2000 and up.
Yeah.
I think there are at least 4 that are definite: Jamal Charles, Cedric Benson, Bijan Robinson, and Deontay Foreman.
Yep.
Okay.
Anybody else y'all want to add to that? Would it be Roshan Johnson? Could it be now a Trey Wisner? Could it be, anybody else? Marcus, you do some running backs back in the day.
Yeah, that 4 is pretty solidified for me. It's tough. I guess maybe if you're talking career, and he probably tilts the scale a little just because he played all 4. You would probably go Malcolm Brown. Part of me wants to put my classmate in there, but in Selvin Young. Okay, I see in the chat. I guess I'm kind of overlooking that. Daniel kind of nailed it. It's probably Jonathan Brooks.
Oh, yeah.
It probably has to be Jonathan Brooks.
It's a good one. That's a good call.
Yeah, and especially if he hadn't gotten injured. If he hadn't gotten injured, I think it's slam dunk. So
do we all agree that Cedric Benson was the best? And I asked that. He had 4 1,000-yard seasons at Texas.
Cedric Benson had 5,000 yards career rushing.
Yeah, 5,540 yards at 5 yards a pop, and 64 touchdowns. I mean, I think we all agree he was the best of that group since 2000, right? I mean, some people say Bijan. Bijan might have been the most talented, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure over Cedric Benson as a college player.
Yeah, and then Ced was incredible in pass pro as well.
Yes,
I mean, he could literally, he was almost like a second lineman. Now it's been cool to see how Bijan has grown into that, but Ced was almost that way from day one. So for me, it would be pretty hard. I think Bijan, you get he tilts the scales on like some of the eye-popping plays, right? And even a bit in the passing game. But rest in peace to Ced. I still think you kind of have to give it to him with respect to his longevity and just the ability for him to shed, tacklers and things of that nature. Like he was special, man. It was like he got stronger as the game went on.
One that I would contend is inaccurate. And it's this from Steven Houston. It says Bijan was better than Cedric Benson at everything except pass pro, but that's because Bijan is good at pass pro too. I want to say this. Okay. Cedric Benson is better at pass pro, or was, excuse me. But Cedric Benson, if I needed 3 yards, I would pick him over Bijan.
Yeah.
And that's not a knock on Bijan at all. Just telling you, I would take Cedric Benson 9 times out of 10 on that. It just, his body lean was, maybe the best ever at Texas, including Ricky and Earl.
Yeah.
Just tell you, it was kind of that kind of contact balance for him was phenomenal too.
Bijan, I think, was much more smooth. Last thing I would add, he was a lot smoother, but he wasn't a guy that come fourth quarter, he was leaning on you, right? Like you felt Ced B. And guys guys made business decisions against Ced B. Not so much when it comes to Bijan. So I can't fully agree there with you either, Stevie.
How about this? With all the challenges in the red zone that have been talked about, that probably pushes Cedric Benson over the top playing for Sark, because Cedric Benson is a guy you could hand it off to 3 times in a row from the 5, and you felt pretty comfortable you would eventually punch that thing in.
Yeah,
because he'd find a way. He'd find a way with that power and that lean. But the other thing is he was a healthy player. I mean, look how many carries he took. Did he ever miss a game? Did he ever miss a full game? I mean, that guy had some real durability for how many hits he took.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry about that. I think Bijan, the thing about him is he's one of those new wave type of running backs, almost ideally, where you get him out in space much more than maybe what they did back in even Cedric Benson's days. Cedric Benson was a tremendous between the tackles runner. All right, we've got a couple more questions we're going to get to. We have a couple more things that we need to discuss here. But first, I want to say thank you to one of our sponsors. That sponsor is SeatGeek. If any Texas fan is going to the game this weekend or to F1 and don't have tickets at the last minute, give SeatGeek a try if you're still looking. With more than 35 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. College football's back. F1 is right here. SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. So look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. Plus, every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. Of course, we've got a deal for all OTF fans. Use code OTF10 for 10% off. That's OTF10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code OTF10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you to our friends over at SeatGeek. Just have been really good sponsors for us this year, and we appreciate them very much. They actually just re-upped, so thank you. Also want to say thank you to the presenting sponsor of every Friday's live stream. That is Garage Beer. Garage Beer Light and Lime with 95 calories, 3 grams of carb, and only 4% ABV. It is beer-flavored beer. This is beer the way it should be. Cold, crisp, easy. That's Garage Beer. No gimmicks. There's Garage Beer Light and Lime with 95 calories, 3 carbs, and again, only 4% ABV. It is beer-flavored beer. The garage is always open. All right, just a reminder for folks, we're going to be out here till about 7 o'clock Eastern at the Blue Stallion Brewing Company in Lexington, so come out and join us. Jerry's in Destin. If you could join him, you're probably better off than anybody out there. Marcus, you're in Austin holding it down. Marcus, you're not going to F1. You're going to do a bunch of work with us tomorrow, right?
Yes, sir. I'm gonna be hanging out tomorrow. No F1 for me. So yeah.
Well, it's kind of going to be like F1 though. You're experienced in the watch with us.
Yeah,
It's kind of like F1, and the chat gets to be F1-ish in the. So hey, chat, make sure Marcus gets a real watch with us live stream.
I'm ready.
Don't go easy on him.
I'm ready for it.
Hey, Bat, will you bring up our Saturday programming, if you don't mind, please? Look, tomorrow morning we start with the Saturday Convo. Starts at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Then we'll go to the Texas Tailgate around 2 o'clock, thanks to the friends over at Hargrove. And then watch with us with Vaughn Lane, 6 o'clock. And then post-game live immediately following the game as well. That's our programming for tomorrow. All right, a couple more questions we're going to get to here. First from Tyson Sanders. Wouldn't it be sweet to potentially play spoiler for A&M if they drop a game or two? Here's the deal. Play spoiler with them whether they drop a game or not.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. I mean, I think A&M's a really good football team right now. I do. I don't think Texas takes a back seat to them. Still don't. And I'll say that because I do think Texas has a better defense than A&M. So we'll see how it all goes.
I love
see what Arch Manning does game 12.
I love that this game mattered last year. It mattered a lot. Who goes to the SEC championship game, playoff potential. I love that this game actually is going to matter. And it's not just going to be – because I think this rivalry could be – and it's not going to be Alabama-Auburn because it's had some magical games and moments. But in order for you to have a really great in-state rivalry that's talked about nationally, the games have to mean something. And I do think these games are going to mean something nowadays because both these teams and universities are set up for success in the NIL era. And I think they both have solid coaches. These games are going to matter. And that, I don't think you can ask for more than that. I think everything may be on the line when these two teams play the day after Thanksgiving this year.
Yeah, and I'm biased as hell when it comes to this one because I just, I know what that game meant to me. What I really like about this year's team is they've already had a taste of what it looks like back against the wall against OU, right? And now you have the reminder of, okay, we went in there and kind of ended their dreams last year, and now they have to come to Austin no matter what. I had an opportunity to go to the Stark Center, which is in like the north end zone.
Yeah.
It serves as like the official archive of Texas athletics. I talked to Bobby some about it, and hopefully we'll be able to get the guy on that's, kind of helping to run that. But they just opened up an exhibit, and it's called like Longhorns versus Farmers or something. And so I was walking through there yesterday and looking at some of the history of the game. It also exudes that type of passion that's necessary. And then when you really just get to talking about it, I could be wrong about this, and I'm fine if it gets to the end of the year and that's the case. I'm not scared of Marcel Reed. And the fact that Le'Veon Moss is already banged up,
that's a big one.
Oh, well, because he, for me, is the juice guy for them. He's their Trey Wisner. And I don't see, you being just now getting nicked up at this point in the season and getting back to full strength by the time you play us. So we got plenty of time to talk about that, but I think we'll handle the Aggies.
Especially not a high ankle.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for Friday afternoon's live stream here from Blue Stallion Brewing in Lexington, Kentucky. Thanks to the folks over at Garage Beer again. Remember, it is beer-flavored beer. The garage is always open. Also, thanks to our other sponsors, including Vaughn Lane, SeatGeek, and others for their sponsorship of the Friday afternoon live stream. For Marcus Myers, Jerry Hamilton, and our friend Matt Hutchison behind the scenes, this has been on Texas Football's Friday live stream. Texas! OU! That's all from Lexington, Kentucky. Hook 'em horns.
Welcome.